With me here, yeah.
Couch.
Yeah. Great couch. Okay, I'm not sure how many here don't know about Kiva.org yet. So tell us a little bit about the story of Kiva.
Okay, hello everybody. Can you hear me? All right.
It's perfect.
Hi. Who's heard of Kiva? About half of you? Okay. Well, I'll just tell you a little bit about it and the background. So Kiva is an online micro-lending platform. On Kiva, you can lend $25 to somebody to start or grow a business, and we work in about 60 countries. So a little bit about the story of Kiva. I started it in 2005 with two co-founders, and basically we started it in Uganda. I was a computer programmer at the time at TiVo, helping people pause live TV. A software developer for 4 years. I got a little bit restless with that job, and I saw a speaker named Professor Mohammed Yunus of the Grameen Bank talk about his work in Bangladesh with, in microfinance, lending to women there. And I got really, really inspired and worked in Africa for a few months, took time off my job, and that led to the idea of Kiva, which was just, why can't we lend to an entrepreneur in Uganda over the internet? The internet was spreading there. Mobile phones were spreading there. I could open a bank account there. So I just facilitated two-way transactions via the web at that time with 7 people. So a restaurant owner, a fish seller, someone selling clothes, a seamstress and whatnot. Connected it to the internet, and about a year later quit my job to do that full time.
Okay, so Kiva.org is 6 years old, and today, can you give us some figures about Kiva, the amount of money you've lended to entrepreneurs around the world, how many people in your team?
Yeah, so like I said, we started in Uganda, and then we quickly realized there was a lot of demand and supply for this idea, so we spread country by country, working with organizations in a place like Rwanda or Nicaragua or Mozambique who wanted to raise money through the web to fund entrepreneurs in their country. And so we ended up doing that little by little and got a lot of press along the way. And now we've done about nearly $300 million in loans through the internet in the last 6 years. So it's just been an amazing ride.
Amazing. You just talked about the press, so you didn't have any budget for your marketing or anything. So how did you make Kiva known? Word of mouth, social media leveraging? What were your first techniques?
Good question. So at the beginning, we really didn't have any users. It was just my family and friends for about 6 to 12 months, and so it was just 30 or so users, and it was a side project that we were doing at night. But quickly we started getting a lot of press. So we were on Oprah, we were on CNN, Frontline PBS, all sorts of stuff. And so that helped us grow at the beginning. And today, the main way we grow is through social media. So it's primarily through our users telling other users about Kiva.
But is it something 100% natural, or did you build in some techniques in your platform so that your users have more incentive to spread the word about Kiva on social media? I mean, it's not only tell your friends, right? You have some tools for that.
Yeah, well, I didn't know the word social media when we started Kiva, but I think what we were doing was inherently social. And one thing I've learned is that social change is inherently social. The tradition of philanthropy has always been social. People love doing philanthropy in groups. So they love doing it at, you might go to a gala or a silent auction where you do charity work. And it's very human too. So the people you're helping are people too. And oftentimes charities have separated the two and advertised on behalf of the recipients. At Kiva, what we're doing from the beginning is including the recipients in the conversation. So our borrowers themselves had a voice on the platform. They were talking directly sometimes to the lenders, which saved me a lot of time. I could just step out of the way because that relationship sort of advertised itself, if you understand.
Yeah. So generally speaking, you will suggest to any non-profit or social platform to go and use social media as a way to promote their business. Non-profits are a specific type of brands and companies. You think it's even more important for them to use social media as a way to market themselves as for other companies because of budget?
Yeah, I do. I think if you're doing something social change oriented, you have a big advantage because it ties into people's sense of being, their emotional life, and their aspirations and dreams. And so it's something people care about so much, and that it's wrapped up in their identity. So they naturally want to tell each other about it. And too many charities just have like a fundraising website, and then, oh, tell your friends about this on Twitter as a little button. But I think the ones that do it right make the entire experience at the core social from the ground up.
So non-profit becoming social platforms. Do you think we will have more like that in the future?
I think we should have more like that, and more charities should get out of the way and let the recipients talk to the donators as well directly.
All right.
Yeah.
You're in the microfinance business, so you talk about Mohamed Yunus with Nobel Prize, Peace Nobel Prize, right?
Yep.
Mohamed Yunus, right?
Yeah.
So microfinance, how old would you tell to us? How old is microfinance? This trend, how old is it?
Yeah, microfinance is essentially the practice of providing financial services to the poor. So in some sense, it's a very ancient practice because village banking or poor people working with other poor people with a banking model has been around for centuries. But it didn't really become an industry until about the 1970s when, like you said, this Bangladeshi professor made it a formal banking structure. And it's since the 80s, about as long as the internet, it's really taken off virally. And in the last 10 years, it's actually becoming commercial for the first time. So it's really spreading. But 3 billion people around the earth still have no access to a savings account. So 3 billion people have nowhere to put their savings, put it under their mattress. It's a really dangerous situation, so we have a long way to go. Okay,
one thing for you guys, you're all tweeting, so what you've just said, this need to be known over the world, so tweets is 3 billion people. What about today? I mean, LeWeb is about trends, it's about trying to anticipate the future. What are the trends from your perspective in this microfinance world?
Yeah, well, one thing I'm really excited about is that banking is being rewritten in a new way in the developing world. And in some sense, it might be better than how the banking story was written in the developed world. So we have a really great chance to recreate that industrialization of banking in a better way. One thing I'm really excited about is the rise of mobile technology. So in Kenya right now, about 1 in 5 transactions happens via mobile banking, via text message. So 1 in every 5 shillings is sent from a phone to a phone, not through cash or check or any other method. So it's really exciting. And in some sense, it's the future of microfinance. Mobile banking will rewrite the history of banking in the developing world and provide small bank accounts to hopefully billions of people one day. And last week, I'm proud to announce, this is my announcement, Kiva started integrating with mobile banking in Kenya, and we're launching this pilot where you can lend to somebody from a website to a farmer's phone in rural Kenya, and it'll arrive in that phone in 3 minutes, just via online methodologies. So it's a super, super exciting trend to provide credit to people who didn't have access to credit before at a 0% interest rate. So if you want to see that on our website, it's zipzip.kiva.org. It's a pilot, and you can request an invitation. We'd be happy to have you join the pilot. It's quite risky right now. We don't know how to get the risk down perfectly right now since it's only 1 week old.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for using LeWeb as a way to announce this. Zip.kiva.org, and it's only in Kenya? What's the plan? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, mobile banking is by far more developed in Kenya than anywhere else in the world, including the USA. So in some strange quirk of history, if I go to Kenya, it's much easier to use my phone than cash. But in San Francisco, I can't really pay anything almost with my phone quite yet. So we decided to start the mobile part of it there.
Okay, that's great. What about governments? I mean, how do you interact with governments, or more generally, how governments today see this new trend of microfinance, crowdfunding, and everything? I mean, your Kiva.org is perhaps the #1 social lending platform in the world, so perhaps now it's easier for you to deal with government, but it hasn't been that easy the whole way.
Hasn't been perfectly easy. Governments have largely stayed out of our way, and we've largely disintermediated governments, and to whatever extent possible, try to go right to people on the ground in the countries where we work. But one thing they've done is really limit the growth of online lending and crowdfunding in general, I think, because of securities laws. Especially in the USA, there's all these old-fashioned laws based on 1920s era legislation that limits our ability to offer interest rates to our users. So right now, our users can't get an interest rate, and that's largely because of these securities laws in the US. There was a funny case of two hipsters in the US that recently tried to raise $300 million to buy Pabst Blue Ribbon, the beer company, their favorite beer company. And they raised about 200 of the $300 million online in a few weeks from 5 million people. So that's $40 million $40 per person was invested to these two hipsters to buy Pabst Blue Ribbon. And that was $40 each, and I don't think the investors were really worried about the risk. They weren't worried about losing their $40 million. They wanted to participate in this thing and own a company that they thought was funny or that they really liked. But the government shut it down because of these securities laws which limit investing online. And I think there's a whole new era of investors who want to invest for social reasons or fun reasons or charitable reasons. They want to make a difference. But our laws really don't accommodate that case.
Can you give us some names of such investors? I mean, perhaps we have some wannabe social entrepreneur in this room. I do, actually. I'm a wannabe. So what are these investors? Perhaps Kaufman Foundation? Do you have some names so that they can check it?
Well, I'm really talking about crowdfunding platforms that want to offer an interest rate to users.
Private investors you were talking about. Yeah.
Like platforms like Lending Club, Kiva, Kickstarter, Prosper.com, ProFounder, that want to offer interest rates to our users, but are constrained in some sense to do so because of these laws.
Okay, but again, I just want to LeWeb is an entrepreneur conference, a startup conference, and we thought there are more and more social entrepreneurs, and there are more and more VCs looking at this area, not only for non-profits, but for startups that try to have social change as a profit for them. So they're profitable, but they want to change the world. Do you interact? You're based in Silicon Valley, so Kaufman Foundation, Omidyar Network. How do you see this new type of VCs?
Yeah, I mean, there's a growing amount of VCs that are willing to take a bit of a hit with regard to profit motive if they can prove that there's a social change associated with that. So I'm pretty familiar in the Bay Area with the Omidyar Foundation. Pierre Omidyar really has taken the lead, and he's been a pioneer in social investing for many years now. And he invested $5 million in Kiva, thanks a lot, which is really setting the way. I think Draper Fisher, Jurvetson is also doing a lot of that work as well in clean tech.
Okay. And for entrepreneurs that will start or that are just starting a startup, is that a product that wasn't social-minded at first? How can they integrate some social impact in the product or service? Do you have any advice on that? Or, I mean, it's a tough question, I know, but...
Yeah. Well, I think, I'm not going to answer that directly, but I think we're often kind of short-sighted. We talk about the web, and we're focused on the tactics of the web, but the web is really just a tool, and that tool can be used for social change, it can be used for a variety of problems. And more, I think it can be used to include the poorest people in this world in this digital global community. And that's going to happen. It's a massive opportunity, and a lot of us are overlooking that opportunity. There's 3 billion people on Earth that are becoming banked, and they're becoming online for the first time in history. That's a big opportunity, but you don't hear about much of that at a conference like this.
And are you familiar with collaborative consumption or shareable economy thing? Yeah, we had TaskRabbit yesterday on the main stage, or Airbnb is huge. Do you see that as a way to perhaps allow poor people to make a little bit of money and change their life a little bit? Is it perhaps a new way to have more social change thanks to the web?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all about trust. I think one thing I've learned at Kiva, one of my biggest lessons is that people are really, really good. I've just been overwhelmed with an outpouring of love and support through the community at Kiva over the past 5 years. And I was quite jaded before, but you know, I've done customer service for years, talked directly to our users, traveled the world, talked to the poor people we serve, the lenders in France, and people are inherently very, very good-natured. And when you can put them connect them together, usually good things happen. We tend to focus on the few bad cases, the newsworthy cases when something bad happens. But by and large, good things are happening when people connect, whether that's through TaskRabbit or Airbnb or my favorite in San Francisco, Relay Rides. One of my Kiva co-founders recently left and started a car sharing company in San Francisco called Relay Rides, which is, his name is Shelby, and they're having amazing early results in their first year of launch.
Okay. You were talking about your community, and that's the last part I want to address with you. How did you make to have such an engaged community of borrowers? How do you keep them engaged? How do you what's your techniques? I mean, again, I want to hear. Yeah. I want to know everything from you.
Well, I think one thing I've learned is that rather than having an organization that markets to the community, we've learned that the community is the organization in some sense. And if you give people the sense that they are the owners of the community themselves, they start speaking about that organization for themselves as their own. And when you get a million people thinking of the organization as their own, the power, the amplification effect of that is just very enormous. And that can be really, really wonderful. It also can be stressful because I think your biggest supporters are also your biggest critics. And so sometimes they're very, very critical of you from the inside, but when someone from the outside comes to criticize Kiva, they stand up and fight for that organization with a large amount of ferocity. So it's been fun to be part of that community.
And technically speaking, you build teams, scoreboards, kind of gamification techniques. Do you think it's a way to increase this engagement by your user? I mean, I'm a Kiva lender, and I can see on my profile a lot of statistics. I can check who I invited and didn't join. So you know, all these kind of things so that I keep going to Kiva to be sure I have 100% profile. Did you see that as a way to, again, increase the engagement?
Yeah, I think gamification is obviously a trend in the past few years, and there's a big temptation just to put badges all over your website on top of the user experience. I've shied away from that to an extent because I think you can get it wrong when you just start measuring everything and putting badges on top of an experience rather than integrate gaming into the core of the experience. So I think the best charities, the best websites are the ones that use gaming in the core user experience rather than just as a layer of frosting on top of the organization. We had one really, really great experience with game mechanics recently where we offered our users the chance to give a free trial to another user. So we gave our users, 8,000 of them, the ability to invite a friend and then get a free trial. And the ones that invited the most friends got a Kiva t-shirt. And we had 8,000 new users in 24 hours. Whereas if you're doing charitable work, getting 8,000 users in 24 hours is a lot of users. Yeah, so and that was all through Facebook. So it wasn't through email. They're not broadcasting the word through email. They're broadcasting the word through Facebook and Twitter now. That social broadcast method is really promising.
Okay, Matt, we have something like 30 seconds left. Do you see anything you want to add to the audience or online?
I just wanted to say that the web is a tool, and we can use it for good or bad. And often we focus too much on the tool and not the aspiration of the tool. So I just wanted to remind us all that we have the chance to build a global online digital village that makes the world a better place. And too often we don't focus on that aspiration. We focus on the actual tools, not the aspiration. So I just hope we can do that more and more.
Thank you. Nothing to add. Thank you, Matt.